transfer capital project. Well, let's see if I can bring these minutes back up.
Hold on a
You want
second.
me to
You
share
see them?
my meeting?
No, I don't see it.
Just a second.
Hold on 1 second.
I also move we table any.
Transfer capital project.
Table this, David? Table that?
Press like.
Okay, so my screen share just went away. Okay,
Try it again.
What do you?
I'm looking at, yes, we're looking at the agenda.
I'm gonna share my screen.
All right, you share the agenda.
Tell me where to go.
And I will talk, and when you catch up, we're on item 4. For those with agendas in the room. The board requested the Finfac interfund transfer project, which was originally $800,000. We came up with a listing of what could be in that project. And then through various machinations of the budget and trying to get down to a 2.71% tax increase for the year, we lowered that to $500,000, and we ended up with a recommendation from the superintendent to cover the security cameras, the Verizon repeater to improve cell phone reception, and the Woodlands Auditorium electric and sound upgrades, which is the stuff we just looked at. So the sound upgrades fall within the budget, as do the security cameras. The repeater, I believe, Verizon offered us to do it for free because we have 45 lines with them. So I think that's all good. Does anybody have any comments or questions about that? That's what appears to have made the cut from our prioritized list. No? Good. Phase 3 proposal. Over the past few months, we asked 3 questions. What projects should be included in phase 3? We prioritized everything at the bottom there of the page. We ended up with a set of priorities. And the top priority was the Woodlands Science Labs. Followed by exterior shells, ECP classrooms, priority 1 and 2, building condition survey, soccer fields and mansion ventilation. So I think the science labs are pretty much taking up the $5.9 million that we had to look at, and then some. Michael Messina, you came back, we requested that you come back with an estimate for the science labs, and you in fact did so. So now let's see if we can share that.
No, she has to.
You have to do it.
I can share, it's not a problem.
All right, can you share Michael Messina's estimate for the BBS, from BBS for the science labs? There are 2 of them. One has lines. There it is. Yes, this one. This is the amount. And there's a second one that's a series of pictures. Michael, do you want to talk to this estimate?
Sure. So the science lab estimate we've updated based upon some investigative work that we've done. Keep in mind, we're still trying to locate some as-built drawings potentially with the district, but we're kind of working blind a little bit as far as what the interiors and the infrastructure is for that building. But you can see that the interior renovations, basically your walls are remaining as an interior gut of the space. So that at 12,000 square feet for the 9 science rooms and I believe it's 6 prep rooms is at 1.5 million. I added a line here from the last time for additional HVAC work because you have a very unique heating system there. And I'm sure Mr. Pugliese can explain it a little bit better than I can, but you have a heat that runs in the ceiling, in the ceiling tiles above this piping. So we haven't come across this before. So just as a placeholder to make sure we have money in the budget to cover it for now, until we go out and look at it a little bit closely, we're averaging $100,000 per room. So that's another $1.5 million. The casework number, if you compare it to the last estimate that we gave to you, I reduced this number based upon the mobile furniture versus fixed furniture solutions that we seem to be going towards. So that number came down a little bit, as did the prep room casework number. So that total construction cost after the GC's overhead and profit is at 5.3 million. You add all the design and construction contingencies, escalation fees, and soft costs, and that brings you to a total project number of about 7.2 million. Then we were asked to do just the window replacement in the rooms that are affected by the science lab renovation project. So you have 9 classrooms and again 6 prep rooms on the second and third floor, and then encompasses about 5,500 square feet of window at $350 a square foot fully loaded, which means all the escalation and contingencies are built into that number just for simplicity. And that puts you at about 1.9 million for window replacement, which is kind of in line with what the overall building, if you recall, that estimate was around 12 million. So you're doing about 16% of your window replacement as part of this project. So that gives you a grand total of just over $9 million. If you want to go to the second page, David, we can show you the
drawing?
sketch with the plan and the windows to kind of give you an idea what we're talking about.
Give us 1 second.
Yeah, let's bounce to the pictures and let him say a paragraph, and then we'll come back to this
You have
document.
2 questions. right?
All right, go ahead.
Have the people actually using the science lab, the teachers, had any input about how this project will wind up looking like?
Yes.
Jennifer Belfry came in 2 meetings ago
Okay.
and spent about a.
Gave a list.
Yeah.
Okay, gave a list of
Back
this,
to
of the, their
things that
request.
they'd like
Okay.
to see,
Okay.
necessary things for
And what
an
she said,
upgraded lab.
Okay,
what
that's
she said
fine.
is that in modern science classrooms, the idea is that you have to be flexible and allow for group problem solving.
Okay,
And so- right,
you don't have to
so-
go into detail, I just
Well, no,
want
I
to make
think I
sure.
could do it in a.
No, I just want to make sure the people who are actually using the space have some sort of input in the design. If you said that was done, then I'll take it, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, next question.
So I just want to verify, when we talk about additional HVAC work, we're doing 15 rooms, that includes the prep rooms, that's 9 science and 6 prep, that's 15.
Correct.
And because HVAC, unless I'm not understanding exactly, you said it's a little bit different in those rooms. In my mind, everything connects to another thing, and the science rooms aren't in standalone areas. Does that HVAC work? How does that then connect to the other HVAC systems? Or is that an additional?
Yeah,
Help me understand how this.
There's-
Yeah,
Yes,
it's a little difficult at this point in juncture to speak about that. The number that we put in there for now, like I said, is a placeholder. It may go up after we do. I have to have my engineers go out and actually look, because to your point, the piping probably continues down the hallways, feeds other ancillary classrooms that are nearby. And how we feed the new system is going to be determined on what your old system currently is able to handle. So
And how we
that's
redid ventilation here, was that not part of the ventilation work we've either done or about to do? This is separate? I'm sorry, I'm
That's
getting out,
separate.
there's so many things
Yeah,
that
that's
I
separate.
just
That's
want to be clear.
original. That's
Yep.
original.
And it's not either in the projects we've just
No,
completed for
that's-
ventilation,
that's not.
nor in the list. of
Energy
things we're about to
performance
do.
contract is not going to change it.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm not exactly thrilled that an extra $1.5 million expense got thrown in there. And one of the things that caused me to go for this as opposed to, some other project like expanding the ECP classrooms, what was the cost differential was something, we pretty much had this one windfall where we had about enough money on hand, and now we don't. So I'm concerned.
So
Go
during
ahead.
the tour, one of the community members asked if we could do 1 lab at a time, like prioritize literally doing 1. They proposed doing one of the sciences that the seniors do, so in your course of academics here, you're gonna hit at least one of the labs that on your way out, and then slowly work our way down since this number is so high. Have we looked at that, or it's only a package situation? You're trying to do them all at this high number?
Michael?
You're always going to have an economy of scale. We could of course do whatever you decide as far as if you want to try to get the number down to a more manageable number. My suggestion would be probably to do it per floor or per side of the wing, one wing, because you do have both sides of the hallway are encompassing the classrooms that are affected. So you could break it up into smaller pieces that way. I wouldn't necessarily say to do one room at a time, but you could. The problem's going to be is really that heating system. Mr. Warner, I understand your concern about the extra cost. I just want to make sure you're covered. But you could always, and I wouldn't recommend this, not touch the ceiling and leave the heating system as it is, but everything else is going to be new and modernized, and you're going to have this existing heating system in the space, and I don't think you really want to do that. So that's why the line item is on there. I hope that explains it a little better.
So again, I mean, and you've worked with us for quite a while, so you know that we have a community where we don't want taxes to go up too high. At the same time as another community member said today on the tour, that every building has a major project, right? So we may need to do one thing at a time. Now, Trustee Warner does point out previous projects where half of the room is done. I'm not saying do half the room, but maybe starting and completing a full lab, completing the project, because that's another issue that, you know, people question us on. At least in this building, commit to that, because this number is very, very high.
Well, if you show us the other document to show the floors.
Okay.
I think if you break it up by floor, you may cut it in half and then we'll be okay.
Half is very high considering we'd like to also, sorry.
Oh, no, you finish.
I was gonna say also help with definitely some space in the pre-K program, possibly on the, things are gonna get high.
Okay, you can't, right.
Okay. One of the things that in the project, when you're cutting costs, you have to be careful how you do that. Because you could cut costs and only put in a system, but long term, that system is not compatible with the rest of your system. So long term, when you go to expand that is useless. So you could cut it back, but you have to build in expansion possibilities. So whatever you decide to do, you have the option later on to build upon that. And that is just not one isolated project.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful that you don't cut it down to isolated project that you can't build upon in the future.
And there's so many variables when it comes to interchanging when you do science lab or any of those labs now, because some things have to be integrated to go from room to room to room. Doing one will eventually cost you a whole lot more money. And so down the road, it is eventually responsible.
Yeah, I wasn't, I'm sorry. So I just don't understand how this is the first time we're hearing about a heating system in the ceiling. When we've I feel like we've combed the building to all of these reports. And if this is truly a structure in that building, then if we're talking about renovating a space, maybe we move the science labs to a different space.
Oh.
Why not? Because we're not worried about any of the science lab, we're not keeping any of it. And we're talking about a flexible space that offers a science environment. So why do we have to use a space that we're retrofitting everything?
I can probably answer that a little bit if you wanted. Your science labs now, all the infrastructure, your plumbing, your sanitary is all in that wing, in that area. To change the locations, you're gonna have to run all new infrastructure. So you're gonna have to run new sanitary lines, new plumbing lines for the sinks and whatnot. So it's gonna be costly. It probably cost prohibitive to do that. We could look into doing it, but I don't think you're gonna like that number any better than this number potentially.
Okay, so we're looking now at the picture, and we have one half of it is on the second floor on the left-hand side, and the third floor is over on the right-hand side. And you said there were two different ways of breaking this up. One is by floor and the other is by wing. So how do we tell which one is more efficient? Because both of them are on both sides of the hall. Go ahead.
David, it really doesn't matter. You could do either floor by floor. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rooms on the second floor and 4 rooms, plus the prep rooms. on the third floor. We could break out the estimate and reduce it and let's break it out and see what it comes to. You could do it just by, if you go east-west of the central corridor, you could do the second floor east classrooms and just do those 2 rooms in the prep rooms. And then later on, you could do the following rooms on the west side of that corridor. So you really could break it up into 4 projects or 2 projects or 1, I guess.
Lucina, though, I'm sure you can sense my frustration because something needs to be done. I have community members here making suggestions that I don't hear. I need to hear more innovative stuff coming from you. We're telling you the money is too much and we have to, I'm asking for 1 lab. Everyone doesn't want to do 1. You said, well, maybe do a wing or maybe do 4. So tell us, we're asking, you're the expert, right?
Yep.
Tell us what you would suggest that lowers the cost enough so we could actually start a project and be successful at it.
So what would be the number that you're shooting for? Let me ask it another way.
I have to go back to the other document.
$5.9 million.
5.9 million. Okay. So I think I would start with a quarter of that, 2 classrooms. I'll pick the second floor, 2 classrooms, and we'll break it out and see what the number comes out to be.
Hold it, everybody's talking at once. Somebody raise your hand.
Hold on, who wants to go?
I've been trying to help.
Go ahead.
So I didn't see this list as something that we all need to do in phase 3 because I think it's too expensive. I don't know why we can't put in the 9.15 million into a phase 3 if that's what we think is the most important. And we have time.
Too much.
Is it too much? I mean, obviously we don't have it, but this would be a bond, right? Somewhat reduced by.
You can.
So you're gonna ask people who don't wanna pass the budget, to get too much.
Well, how do we
But
know
Tracy,
that?
how are we gonna do the other things?
Okay.
The
They have
ECT expansion, all of these are huge projects. So it's not news to us that it could be $9 million.
Okay, so it may be that if you start with the $5.9 million and put a bond on top of it, that you can get to this original full-size project. It's also possible if you were able to pull in $1.3 million per year at the end of a budget year, that you can eke up a little bit of money that way so that the bond doesn't need to be quite so big.
We can't wait forever to get all this stuff, so we have to do bonds and they have to be smart, they can't be huge. But I don't see how it's possible to do everything if we don't, it's too slow.
So 9 minus 6 is 3.
Right,
And so then if you had another $1 million off of an end of year budget, then you could have like a $2 or $3 million bond and move forward with that. And if that's the recommendation of the committee, that's the recommendation of the committee, then we don't.
and if it were me, I would go next year and I would say, this is what we're doing, we're reducing it, and it's $5 million. That's what I would do.
You have to have in your hip pocket alternatives. Because when you go out to bond, the first thing people will say, well, have you thought of this? Have you thought, what if you do half? Well, what if you, that's the first thing people, and if you don't have an answer, you're dead. So we should have a scenario of the full part, from the full part, if that's the decision, but we also break it down into different scenarios. If it was 5.9, what would it, if it was 2 point, whatever. So you have, you have your bottom line, what you really like, you have your wish list. And you have 3 different numbers that you previously know what those numbers are. Then, once you know what those numbers are, then you make a decision. But you have to know the alternative, because if you don't know the alternatives and you go to the public and they say, why didn't you think of this? You kill your whole argument. You have to be prepared. You have to have all 3 cases.
Look at all three. I'm just stating facts that we're gonna have to bond. We have to.
No one said we don't.
But,
Okay, Chris.
And, I'm sorry, I might be coming at this And I'm just going to express my disappointment. When we were ranking items, looking at the cost, of course, none of this included the soft costs, which are adding a significant amount. And I'm also disappointed because when we discussed doing the science labs, we considered doing the exterior shell at the same time to protect the new things that were going to be in the labs. And I could possibly swallow more if I knew this was including some of the exterior work to protect what's inside, but apparently it does not include any of the exterior shell work for those rooms. And I understand we're gonna get into the same problem of how do you do just a section, but I need to express my frustration.
So again, I didn't hear an answer because everyone jumped in and interrupted. You asked for a number. I heard trustee Warner say 5, what did you say?
I said that we have $5.9 million of capital this year.
Is there a way you can get a side or a floor, or whatever the breakup you suggested, under 5 million? Or around 5?
If you divide that in half, you're probably under 5 million. So yeah, you could do the second floor or the third floor. And that includes the shell of the windows. So you are doing 2 birds in 1 stone.
We're splitting.
Mhm.
I am truly concerned about this radiation system in the ceiling. Like, that's gonna be a thing. We know it's gonna be a thing. So my recommendation would be we do a 3rd and 2nd floor side. So that we're doing 2 levels of the system and the ceilings on the same side, so that we're not having an issue where it's coming down top. It will have already been fixed from the 3rd floor, 2nd floor on one side of the building. So
Can you hear her?
instead of doing like a floor, just doing
The
the
side.
one side, so either the 4 classes on one side or the 5 classes on the other side.
Mhm.
That way we eliminate the risk of the classrooms getting damaged one way or another.
Yeah. Okay. That's a suggestion. Mr. Smith, do you wish to, do you have anything?
I agree with that suggestion. I mean, it's been the classrooms that, I'm sure they're gonna run whatever vertically, so it makes sense if you do one side of the hallway on both floors, 2nd and 3rd floor. I like the suggestion of possibly just moving the labs all together. You saying it could be a lot more with plumbing, with the radiant heat. I don't know the cost comparison with the plumbing compared to moving the radiant heat. No idea. It might be more advantageous for us to move the classrooms.
To where?
There's multiple places we can move the classrooms, that where there's no radiant heat in the ceiling. So that's a possibility. We're talking about ceiling.
Okay.
Is the radiant heat in the ceiling only there?
It's in some of the classrooms, on the other floors, on several floors, so it's hit or miss, but there is.
Like, is it a matter
around the
of-
building, yeah. It might be in the heat of classroom that we want.
Versus-
Also.
New
But the only thing is like.
and electrical and
A
gas.
typical classroom, okay, the water lines down the hallway, but it's the waste, that's chopping and that's where it gets expensive for the mechanicals. That's where the cost would be.
Okay,
Where is the main, I'm not gonna say this right, the main line, the main gas or water lines coming from? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, the main water line,
Like, if they were to move, like, where would it make sense to move them to?
that's half of the problem now too. We also have like a water issue up on the 2nd, 3rd floor because of the water main, the pressure, like when somebody flushes the toilet, if you're filling up the bottle station, you actually see it and it
takes its time.
it's noticeable, it slows down.
Or even when they go.
Well, we have another project that's
Yeah.
designed to take care of that, and that project is in process. Okay.
Can I add something, David? The moving of the science labs, it's really cost prohibitive. The $1.5 million for the ceiling would probably be double that, just because of the sanitary portion alone, because you don't have a sanitary system potentially in the place where you're putting the science labs. And or if you do have a sanitary system that's nearby that you could possibly tie into, it might not be big enough. So now you have to go and enlarge that system as well. So, keep in mind that the science wings in schools are put into place, and there's infrastructure in place that's in close proximity to the use of that space. So to change that location at this point in juncture, we could look at it certainly if you wanted us to, but I would highly doubt that it would be under the cost that you're seeing tonight.
Okay. What is the downside of leaving the radio?
From a personal knowledge, it should be looked at. I mean, just by him stating that, it's gonna cost more, that's not factual, right? So we deal with apples and apples, so they should come in and say how much it would cost if they move 5 science classrooms to these other 5 areas, to waste or whatever he's referencing. But it has to be apples and apples. I mean, we don't know how much that cost is.
Okay, so we're about to make you do some more work. And so what's going to happen is we're gonna ask you for multiple estimates. So we need a side to side estimate for doing half the project.
Okay.
And we need a move the science classrooms estimate. And do we need anything besides that? Go ahead.
I will need to know where you want to put the new science classrooms, though. That's important. Or do you want us to?
Right.
What if they're all, that would prohibit the thing?
We have to get a section of rooms that doesn't have the, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is the downside of leaving the radiant heat in the ceiling? Say if you decided, I mean, what will be the problem if we did that?
Aesthetically, for one, it's not the most efficient system too. But certainly you could definitely leave it. It is working today, as far as I know, right? Dennis, there's no rooms that don't have heat in that wing. Correct?
And what is the cost of removing that?
Just because if you're doing a total gut of the room, you want to include whatever's above the ceiling. So you don't have to. You could decide to not do that and leave the ceiling tiles in place. You walked it tonight, you saw the way it looks. There are some missing registers or grills in the ceiling for some of the exhaust fans or supply ventilation that's in those spaces, but it is how many years old. It's probably 20 plus or 30 plus years old.
But my question is, if you're looking for possible savings, to quantify it, one way would be, what would be the savings if we left it there? I'm not saying we should, but at least we know what it is.
You could take that line item out, and that would be the savings. So you'd save $1.5 million, probably with all the contingencies. That would be 1.8, 1.9 million. I could definitely run that and take that out.
One of the suggestions I would have is that it takes 1.5 to remove everything. What about doing some obvious repairs, and maybe the number is 1.1 or whatever it is, to do some obvious repairs to it.
Yeah.
And then maybe able to save not the 1.5, but at least maybe 1.1, 1.2, and you at least make the system look presentable and save over $1 million. So I think that's one thing that we should at least look at.
Let me do this. If it's okay with you, before our next meeting, I'll have my engineers go out there and look at the existing system and see exactly what it entails if we were to rip it out and if we were to keep it. And what could we do if we did keep it to make it look a little nicer than it does tonight, today.
And you say you guys have never seen the existing system?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
You guys have never seen the existing system?
Not in detail, no. Please understand, this is all pre-design work. We don't really get into the nooks and crannies of the building at this point in time until we know better. But this was brought to our attention that there's an existing, heating system in there, and we looked into it preliminarily, but we haven't gone into the boiler room and see the distance, how far it's traveling, and what size pipes there are, that type of thing. No, we haven't done that.
Have you done science labs and stuff in neighboring school
Yes,
districts?
yes, every building's different though, please understand that. And unfortunately, your existing as-bills, there aren't any drawings to date to look to in reference to. So we're kind of walking blind until we actually go out and look at these things in further detail. So at this point in time, we don't typically get into that level of detail. It's more of a high level cost, high level estimates to give you an idea of what it's going to be and to make sure you have enough money to cover those things. And that's why we put all those contingencies in the estimates to cover things that might come up in design or during, construction. So that's, you kind of put a little bit of the cart before the horse. We don't get into that level of detail, but I will certainly send some people out there to take a look at the existing boiler room, the location, the runs, the piping sizes, et cetera, and get a better idea for what we can do as far as options for the new route work if we were to remove it, whether the most economical system would be, for example, univents, or maybe we go back with some other system depending on what the building can handle. And then if it is something that we can leave, and how do we, potentially supplement it? So, one of the things I noticed right away is looking at it with the engineers is that your fresh air is different than it is typically for a classroom. Normally you have a univent or something like that in the classroom that's pulling air into that single classroom. This wing is being more centralized in the hallways, and every one of those classrooms has a vented panel next to the door that sucks air or pulls air into the room that happens to affect the air exchange in the space. So it's a much older system. It's a unique system. It's not something typically that we see. And without those background drawings, it makes it harder for us to estimate. So that's why we are being conservative with the 100,000. And it very well could be more than 100,000 per room, but it could be less. But we want to make sure that you have money at this point in time that you're seeing that we don't underestimate it, and then all of a sudden it comes back, well, we didn't anticipate this, when we get into the details of it, and when it comes a viable project, that we don't have enough money to cover it, and you're going back to the public and saying we need another whatever dollars to fix the system that's there. So that's kind of the way we've always done it, and it's worked fine in the past as far as how we present it. But like I said, I will definitely run whatever kind of numbers you want to run. We're here to help you plan a bond. So if you want us to do it per wing or for east-west, we'll do it. I'll get together with Dennis and David, and we'll run a couple of different scenarios for you for next time.
Okay, so just to be clear, the options I'm hoping to hear from you on are, there's the full cost option you've already done, and we know it requires a bond. We have several reduced cost options. We can move science classrooms from one place to another, and we'll have to identify what classrooms those are. And then we can also have a one side of the building only option, in which case I think you've got fewer classrooms and therefore it should be half as expensive. And then we've got the other thing that you're doing is looking at what the solution is for the radiant heat, and that may reduce the cost overall. So those are the things we're hoping to come back with in June. Anybody see any other options that need to be added? Okay, we're good. Thank you. All right, I think we can go back to the agenda now.
Well, Dave, I just like to, one of the key points I brought up is as is drawings. You have architectural drawings, but on the job, there's always some adjustments made. And far too often, those as is drawings are not filed and the customer does not get them. We need to make sure that as we do all of these jobs, we get the as is drawings in our file. So we don't run into the problem that our current architect is running into. The as is drawings are critical.
The as-bills, yeah.
Dennis, yes. Do you have a system in place to do that?
As we have the plans, correct, that's.
So you have been doing that for, okay.
Okay, good.
Project, yeah. But a lot of these additions were 50, 60 years ago, 40. I don't know where the archives were.
Oh, yeah, I know.
We have something that some of the plans.
Oh, we
we
have
have.
mentioned some of
I'm gonna say, so we don't have the same problem 30 years from now, from though. We have the same, we want to do something, we don't have the as-is drawing.
Could you bring, okay, so let's scroll down a little bit onto the next page. Based on our priorities, okay, we talked about woodland science labs, we talked about when phase 3 should begin, we talked about a possible bond. Then we're on to phase 2 construction projects. And let's see, well, I think at this point, we might as well pull out the listing of all current large projects. So could you go to the BBS report for the month of May?
The BBS status?
Yeah. And Michael, could you walk us through this?
Sure. So the vestibule, the only update I just actually received at 5:30 tonight, and the district was copied on it, is from the surety, their attorney. Apparently the contractor AFL has issued a change order to the subcontractor to prepare the shop drawings and make the changes that are requested of them. So per their attorney, we should have them in the next 2 weeks or so to review. And the other part of updating it for that project is that the surety has hired a third-party engineer to supervise and to help the contractor make the balance of the submissions, which we have seen. They've submitted some of the additional missing information, so they started to get that to us, which is a good thing. So Beacon is going to be on site. They're a company that the surety has hired to help AFL. And hopefully we keep putting pressure on them between BBS, your attorney, Dennis, everybody is putting pressure on them to get moving and keep things going. So that's all I have for that project.
Know that we have the backup concern that if you get the doors in place, that the security vestibule might have some difficulty in being large enough, and we need to find a way around that. That's in there?
That's in there, yes. Once we get the shop drawings, we're still gonna have a meeting on site with everybody to walk it out, tape it out, so you can see exactly where everything's gonna be.
Okay, anything else we feel we need to
You wanna be in the meeting?
You wanna be in the meeting, okay. Want to be in the meeting. You too?
100%, yes.
Okay.
We're
Matt Smith.
Invite right now.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Let us know when the meeting happens. With the
So
new.
the admin building, final roof inspection actually occurred. We just got a copy today of the inspection report. There are a few last items that they're asking for. So we're still pushing the contractor to finish that along with the balance of our non-conforming list items that we've given to him months ago. And once he gives us that he's all done, finally, we've explained to him, we'll do a final walkthrough with Dennis and we'll inspect all the things that he's completed. Highview, all the phase 1 work is substantially complete. We're starting to close out some of the contractors. The mechanical contractor is just finishing up, I think, 3 more items that he had to do on his punch list, and he should be done, and we'd be able to start closing him out as well. So that's a good thing. The water main fire hydrant project, we had a bid opening on the 11th. The bids came in over budget, unfortunately. We're looking at reviewing the bids and value engineering the project, and we'll schedule a call with Dennis and Lisa to go over the numbers and see what options we have to try to rebid that and get it under budget. The Bailey Auditorium renovation project that was also opened on the 11th. We sent a letter to Lisa today for award. And hopefully that gets put onto the agenda for the May 7th board meeting, and you'll have a contractor on board, and we'll get contracts out there shortly afterwards.
Wait, could you back up just a second?
Sure.
The main fire hydrant, what does that do to the end date for the fire hydrant project?
It's gonna push it back. for sure. I don't recall what the end date was on that initially, but, we need to, the budget was blown, with that project, for multiple reasons. And right now, Fred and John Longo are going through it to see, what things we could do to try to value engineer it to get it within budget.
Okay, so until you know the scope of that, then you can't tell us the date. Okay, so when will you come back with an answer?
I think by the next meeting or before that, we'll have an answer.
Okay, great.
Do you want it on the agenda?
Fire
Yeah.
hydrant,
Okay.
date and revised cost next meeting.
David, we may have to change the schedule too, as far as when the work gets done. That, I think that was part of the problem, why the cost got driven up so high, as I was trying to get done mostly over this summer and into the fall. In that short period of time, I just think that just drove the numbers up as well. So that'd be something we'll discuss, on a call in the future.
Oh, yeah.
This is a safety concern, so I don't want to totally take the pressure off of time in favor of cost. Well, let's see how big the cost is first.
Yep.
Right, okay, go ahead.
What I leave off, the tennis courts at Woodlands, those were submitted to the state on 116. We haven't heard anything back yet. You're probably not going to hear anything from SED until the summer, maybe July, August, as far as when they pick it up. The same thing for the running track that was submitted at the same time. Can you scroll down, please?
Yes. Tracy, can you scroll down?
Sorry.
The Highview window replacement project. We got approval on 417. We're in the permit queue. I don't know if this district received the permit yet for that, but we'll work on dates and a construction schedule with Dennis to put that out on the street for bid. And I just added on here just to let you know, typical lead time on windows is plus or minus 6 months at this time. The next item is the energy performance contract. I'm happy to announce that we got a permit, or we're in the permit queue, I should say, as of 429. Or 430, I think we got it. So the next steps for that is that RWE will reach out to Dennis and Lisa and start talking about the schedule, and they'll start buying out the project, once the contracts are signed, and to get stuff ordered and get things started with that.
And does RWE, are they supposed to provide their own construction management services, or are we supposed to do that?
No, that's included in their scope.
Yeah, they do have,
But they work,
Internal.
they work
They're
for
internal.
them, or do they work for us?
I'm not positive, Lisa. I think Cal said that the next step is he's going to have a meeting with you and their group to talk about how they hire and who they hire for the oversight and the daily supervision.
yeah,
So you guys get to negotiate.
Yeah, I did speak with him, and he says that there's 2 people that supervise the project internally, but there was money put aside for us to hire a construction manager
Okay.
to have our outside eyes watching the eyes that are watching them.
All right, there's my answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's if it's in the project, it's in the project. You'd rather have the eyes than not.
Factored, I believe it was.
That is what I'm saying.
He's talking about adding hire someone in addition to the person.
Yeah, I believe he factored in $670,000 or so for the project.
It's within that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was factored into the project. For us to hire somebody externally to keep an eye on their management.
Okay.
Okay. All right, continue.
RJ Bailey partial roof replacement, bids were opened on the 11th for that, and that goes in conjunction with the interior work. We sent a letter today to Lisa for award on the 7th. The window replacement at Woodlands High School, roof replacement at Woodlands High School, that was submitted on 116. The partial replacement for the flat roofs at Bailey was submitted on 12/15. Both of those are still in the queue over there for review. The Woodland Science Lab, the gas work and the eye wash stations, We're ready to submit to the state. We just need the secret resolution and the funding source in the resolution of saying, to complete the paperwork to send that up. And then the last thing on here is the science labs. I just said we're in pre-design phase only, and the budgets, we'll keep working on those for our discussion just a few minutes ago.
Okay. Any questions at this point?
Yeah, one question on the type of flat roofs that you're installing. Could you describe what type of roofs are you installing, or whether or not you're going down to the decking?
It's a rip. It's a total rip of the roof. So you go down to the deck for all of our projects. We're not doing any re-roofing or membranes or anything like that on top of an existing system.
Okay, and then what type of roof are you using?
So I believe Woodlands High School is a TPO roof. The Bailey flat roofs, I believe, are EPDM. That's what you guys had out there. And I can't recall off the top of my head what the other two buildings are, but those will go up to the state probably before the end of the year. So we'll match in kind. Typically, whatever you had before, we'll do the same system.
Does that include taped insulation for the drain?
Yep. New drains, new tape, new ISO board, everything. New Dens deck.
And the insulation boards are 6 inches or 3 inches?
It depends on the system. We'll work with the manufacturer and see what needs to be done as far as the tapered plan. For typically, your roofs are not at the current pitch per code. So a lot of times you wind up building up the roof a lot taller than what it used to be to get the 1/4 inch pitch to the drains.
And now if you build up the height of the roof, does that require railing? Because I don't know how it is under the school, because the parapet has to be, I think it's 40 inches from the height of the roof. Does that apply to roofs in the school?
It depends on the existing conditions. A lot of times, if the parapet walls are high enough to accommodate the tapered plan that we get, and we work with the manufacturers to get those plans, so they go out to the site as well to do the investigative work. You can leave the existing parapets. Sometimes if you just have a gravel stop at the edge of the roof, those gravel stops will get built up a little taller. It depends on where the drains are. There's a number of factors, so it's really on a case by case basis.
So what that was, my question was, if the insulation creates additional height of the roof, are you compelled to put railings around the roof?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
There'll be you'll see temporary railings for safety, OSHA, for the roofers when they do their work up there. But no, we don't put railings up on the roof typically. We might add roof ladders if you don't have access to a portion of the roof. But I think your buildings, the high school in particular, had quite a few already.
Okay. Let's see, is there anything left on the report?
No. I don't believe so.
Okay, anyone have any additional questions? I think we're good. Let's move forward. Okay, so we've done 6 and 7, it's 8:39, we'll try and get out of here soon. Grade level reconfiguration plan, if you look, scroll all the way down to the bottom of item 8, and I think basically administration now reports enrollment for 24-25 may exceed Leo Jackson classroom capacity by 2 classrooms. Administration posted an RFP seeking facilities with additional space, but did not receive satisfactory responses. We are exploring options for meeting this need. Lisa, do you want to say anything further about that? Or is that kind of where we're at?
That's where we're.
Okay. So we will hear more. The superintendent is considering various things. Smaller projects. Dennis, you're on.
ACP main building, no significant changes this month. LF Jackson. Damaged boiler will be replaced as part of the energy performance contract, and no change on that. We talked about, should parking lot be extended to parent drop off, cost was approximately 90K. Need to design for future implementation. Highview, nothing to report. RJ Bailey, new gym wall pads will be installed over the summer. Raised flower beds have been installed on the garden area. Students are planting up primarily vegetables. Refrigeration unit was serviced in the kitchen. Woodlands, you can see the BVS report regarding the vestibule. Wind-driven rain still causes leaks in some of the classrooms with the building shell. Item 4 was spread over the football field to fill some potholes. Paving cost is in excess of 200K. Recommended to defer until after the EPC solar panel installation is complete. Water stains on the exterior walls should be fixed as part of a window replacement project. Cubicles were installed in guidance over the spring break. Water coolers in the hallways were restored to original specifications or they were replaced. The mansion we
Yeah, I mean, you need to scroll to the next page.
We had the tour of the mansion before and we just heard the BBS report on the punch list continuing. Teacher center, a ring camera was installed on the front door. Bus garage, we still have this consider repaving and electric vehicle charging stations in a long-term plan. Funding is the key factor there. And that's pretty much it for me.
Any questions?
Yeah, can I ask why were there partition or cubicles? Why was it changed in guidance?
We were asked to provide spaces for
There was a concern about privacy.
Okay.
And so
I thought you
they
heard the
for
students
privacy,
like
and the
think about it.
students had an issue with it. I missed that part of the tour with the discussion room.
We ran out of time, so we can get to it. I think basically the problem is the cubicle walls are, they're slate gray,
Yeah.
flat, almost black plastic.
So can we take them down?
Or make them more beautiful in some way, make them look like.
How much do we spend on that?
I mean, they were requested for a reason.
Yeah, they were
For privacy, but if maybe some other decision needs to be made if that's not working for the kids. But then how much should we spend for that?
Discuss.
$5,000,
6,000?
7,000, yeah.
Yes.
Several $1,000.
Do we define it's not working for the kids? What does that mean?
Yeah. It was 2 kids who brought it up, one really at the board meeting, the ex officio.
I think it's
So
just
don't know
something
how they did it.
different. They don't like.
What's the problem we're trying to solve? So what does that
Right.
mean?
I don't know.
It's not working. What does that
So
mean?
I don't know if you could just, paste a bunch of college pennants on the side of it and it would be magically fixed. I'm not.
Yeah,
sure.
but I don't,
So
I don't know what
they
the
said-
problem is.
They said it wasn't as friendly and it was harder to see if the guidance counselors were
Right.
there.
It's
It was a change.
it's an
You
environment
can
that
see it
is,
on the recorded meeting.
that is supposed to be open and welcoming. And instead, the partitions make it more blocked. Blocked for view, blocked for being open and welcoming, but I think the reason why petitions were put up was to increase privacy, so I don't know if discussions were had. Unfortunately, we lost the principal, because he's been here all day, so it would need to be more of a discussion. But I don't know if that's maybe a directive then to go to people having a discussion to problem solve, but I didn't realize 5,000 to 7,000 was spent on.
Well, and also there may be kids who say, I really like it. Now I can talk to my counselor without
Like,
other
sir-
people saying who I am, who's in there and what I was thinking.
So I didn't realize you guys didn't go, there is no privacy with it, you can still hear, you just can't see.
Okay, but it was a
Because there's
visitor.
gray walls, but you can hear, there's no doors, it's partitions, it's not to the ceiling walls. It's like, it's a cubicle.
Yeah, if I look at the old guidance suite offices, their walls didn't go all the way to the ceiling, but they were tall enough And there was the acoustic properties were such that you could go in and as long as you didn't yell and scream, then you
Yeah,
had some
no.
privacy, right? So, I mean, that's kind of what you want, to be able to have a private conversation. So if cubicle walls accomplish that, then great. If they don't quite accomplish that, then that's one concern. And the other is, you wanna be open when you can be open, and they had like open areas where people could see everybody, and then there's like, please
But
step
when-
into my
but
office.
This is Mr.
Smith picked this.
Right,
Okay.
when the move happened, which there was a move, because the old office was in another location. This was specifically brought up. I was a parent that brought that up, and we were told that there was a private office to the left. And there was another office off to the right. So when you do go in, you're right in the secretary, there is an office to the right, that's a closed office with a door and a wall, not a partition. And there was a big open office that was open with the 3 guidance counselor staff. And then around the corner, there was an office with a door that we were told again for privacy. So again, I don't know if it's a conversation. One board member, one ex officio member brought it up. There were 2 there. They both agreed, but one verbally brought it up. Maybe it's simple as discussion on the building level, feedback from the kids. I don't know. I know as adults had discussion about privacy for reasons, and there was an actual reason.
Yep.
And then a decision is made. But again, when top-down decisions are made and it's not a discussion from the kids who actually use the environment, sometimes there's an issue. So maybe it just needs to be discussion.
Now, is there 2 private rooms still available? Okay. So now I really don't understand the problem.
Me neither. So I think.
Because if a child comes in for just general information that you want from a guidance counselor, then you go into a cubicle. If you truly have a private conversation, there's 2 rooms. So I still don't understand what the problem is.
Again,
That I want to know either.
communication helps.
Yes, ma'am.
That the private-
Carol Allen raised her hand. Carol Allen, go ahead.
Warner, I don't see that this discussion is something that our committee needs to get into. It sounds to me like the people who actually use that area need to have this discussion. And if there's something that we need to weigh in on in terms of financing, it should come to us at that time.
Okay, fair enough.
8:47.
Is there anything else on the agenda?
There's all the finance.
There's still-
Trustee Warner?
Number 10.
Lisa, you're up.
So at the April 16th board meeting, the board adopted the budget to be presented to the public at the May 21st vote. Budget will be $80,567,747 with a tax levy of $67,039,809, which represents 2.71% increase. After they adopted that budget, a day or 2 after that, the legislature and the governor did come to an agreement, and they did restore the safe harmless money as we had anticipated and had already included in our budget. This budget includes an additional math teacher for the middle school, math AIS, a special ed teacher, and a teacher assistant for an 812 class. In order to balance this budget, we reduced equipment. We reduced expenses, which included equipment and contractual items by $371,000 and decreased the capital interfund transfer by another $300,000, bringing it to $500,000 for next school year in order to maintain the increase of 2.71%. The cost per student, what we were asked last time to try to calculate that. And our cost per student for the 23-24 year, because it's not over, we cannot calculate that with accuracy. But in the 22-23 school year, it was just over $40,000 a student. It was $40,259 per student, and
Ms. Raymond, would it help for me to ask questions now or at the end?
oh, whatever you want.
So do you think it would be helpful to, what?
Go ahead.
To separate the cost per a general education student, an average cost per in-district special needs student, and an average cost per out-of-district special needs students, an average cost for private school, because private schools range in the cost that we may pay either for tuition for the school or transportation. Would it make sense to kind of?
What do you mean for special ed?
No, for certain kids that have private schooling.
The students that we pay for that are at private schools are special ed.
No, we pay also for some of the services at the
Transportation
private
and
schools.
books and.
Oh, well, that is not part of tuition.
Health services. Yeah.
Health services.
So
are
when
not part of
when you're
tuition.
calculating the cost per student, you're not counting in any of those?
No, I
Right?
subtract that out.
Okay, so but would it make sense to break down some of those costs, just because when you're saying 40,000 per pupil, even though it's an average, those numbers get used against the district. And is there any way to?
Break them down.
maybe break
It's
them
nice
down
they
and
used to
make them-
separate it for us, but they no longer do that, and I
explain
missed
the
the previous
cost.
meeting, and we're supposed to get that breakout.
Accessible?
What's the cost of other school
Huh?
districts?
What'd you say? I didn't.
What's the cost of other school districts? I
We
mean, that's
have
what people.
higher than average special ed costs, though.
Okay, so they, so that would seem to me, that, the people, look at the cost per student in our district versus the cost of another district. If the cost in our district is higher, and we have a legitimate reason why it's higher, then we should make that known.
Mhm.
Well, you're.
And the
thinking
cost
that-
breakdown is a.
But people that
and the
don't
cost
want
breakdown is a
the
way of doing
budget
it.
at
Yeah.
all will still just count that number. So that's what I'm saying, if we at least have a more
Yeah,
palpable number.
yeah, so you
that may
explain it,
help.
yeah, by the number side.
Okay. Good suggestion.
Okay, I will work on that. The budget newsletter, went out today at noon to the publisher. So that should be coming soon, to households, once it's, printed. And Dr. Iverson and I held 4 budget presentations yesterday to various community groups. One was with clergy in our district, civic associations, our legislature. There were 4 different groups, and we will have the budget hearing next Tuesday, and then that Wednesday, we were invited to go to High Point to do a presentation to the folks that live there, and Dr. Iverson reached out to Stone Oaks to ask to be put on their meeting that they have in the month of May, as we did last year, to speak briefly about the budget.
We also are gonna have college signing day, which can be a budgetary thing, because many parents do wonder. It was a question at candidates night last night about our SAT scores and our, performance scores for our graduates. So it's important to show where our graduates are going and how they're doing, right?
Wait, so what do you mean about college signing day and the?
Oh,
Possible venue.
it's college signing day, so
Right,
they
what
have
are you
like
asking for?
big thing here, they're gonna have a video.
Oh,
So it'll be,
put out the video. I love that
college
video.
signing day is gonna be May 15th.
I'm gonna have a video
Yes, Mr. Lewis is gonna film it.
of the college signing day.
Yes.
But what do you
And
want,
this
you
is related to
want
the
to do a
budget.
budget presentation at college signing day?
Not at all. What I'm saying is to, sorry, help pass the budget, maybe I'm not connecting my thoughts to the fleet, I'm tired. But having, so college signing day is the 15th, budget vote is the 21st. So hopefully the college acceptances and signings will be part of the running things that go on YouTube and TV.
Got it.
and
Okay, general good PR for the district.
general good PR for the district leading up to the
Leading up to the
budget
vote.
vote.
Okay,
Thank you for
Got it,
connecting my
got it.
thoughts.
Got it.
Okay,
Okay,
got it.
not a budget presentation at the cost.
And if anybody has any questions, they can send them to me at budget@greenburghcsd.org. And again, the budget vote is May 21st, Woodlands Middle High School Gymnasium, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Chris.
Just quickly, we do have a budget page on the website. When you get questions mailed to you, are you creating an FAQ here to answer those?
I would
Publicly
if
or-
I got questions.
I sent one the other day.
You did?
I
Okay.
did, but I haven't gotten an answer yet.
Okay, I don't go in there every day.
Okay.
I have to say
Fair
that,
enough.
but I definitely will go in there and look, but as I get questions, yes, I keep creating them.
Okay, thank you.
The page.
And if you need to look at the line-by-line budget for the upcoming budget
It's
hearing,
there.
it's there. You can go on the district website, click on the menu item labeled budget. And if you scroll down, you'll get to the report for how we are.
And all
spending our
of
money.
the budget presentations are on there, the property tax report card should be on there. The administrator salary disclosure will be on there, everything that we are required to, everything we're required to do filings for should be on there.
Ms. Raymond, you might not know the answer now, which is fine, but do you have any idea where the budget for the field trips might be? Because this did come up with.
Oh, that's the question I sent you.
What do you mean where it may be?
So on the budget line, the PTAs that are looking at trips and exploring this can find the transportation budget.
And as I said previously, any admission or any other costs outside of transportation should be it is budgeted in each school's contractual lines. That is at the discretion of the superintendent, the principal to use that line to fund field.
So it may
Those are
be,
principals
it may
too.
be within curricula, their curriculum.
No, it
may
would be,
within-
no, it would be under general, it would be under the 2110.
Okay,
It's 2110, 400, and then like, for example, Jackson is 03. And then whatever she designates. Yeah, Woodlands is 08, that's contractual code.
okay.
And that includes other things.
Mhm.
It's not just like.
And there's a
So
breakdown
then how do we
in
get
the
a
minutes
breakdown?
for all the budget codes that we went over last time, if you need to. we'll get-
Right, so that, but let's keep going with that. So say, pick Jackson, say Jackson has in that budget code, $100,000.
Not you. No.
Okay, well, I don't know.
No, like they have $8,000.
No,
It's up to Ms. Simone to designate how much of that 8,000 she's going to do.
how would a public person find out how that?
We have to ask the principal. We have to ask. them.
Okay, any questions on the budget? Okay, yes,
I have like a this year budget question, just out of curiosity.
23, 24?
Correct.
Okay.
So, so if a position, if somebody vacates a position.
Mhm.
And I don't even know if you're hiring or not for it, but let's just say the dean of school climate and culture has resigned. So it's April, so that person would have been paid through June, so what happens to that money?
That goes to fund balance or gets reallocated.
So the general. fund
Oh, you
balance?
mean what, I'm sorry, you said paid through June, you mean what happens from the moment of the resignation to June?
If they're not getting, yeah, right, the money they would have been paid, I meant through June, so now I was just curious where it goes into a general fund balance, or someone.
It would go
you
into
can
fund
reallocate.
balance, right. If the position is rehired, that money is there to pay them.
Right.
For the rest of the school year. Otherwise, it would go to fund balance.
okay. Hearing no other questions, all right, so energy performance contract is we've already talked about that, facilities fund update.
I'm sorry, can we go back to
the audit committee.
Oh, I'm sorry, you crossed it out, but I
Oh.
didn't say that you crossed it out. Do you have anything to relate on the audit committee?
No, there's no news. If anyone wants to volunteer for the audit committee, they can email me, cevellen@greenburghcsd.org.
Thank you.
Can we go back to Ms. McGee's question?
Go ahead.
Just to clarify too, though, the reverse is true as well, because when we started the 23-24 school year, that position was not in the budget, correct? We added that later. unless I'm.
Well, the person wasn't hired, but it wasn't until
Right, but
November,
then
but it was in the budget.
We had the money, it was a retiree that
Right,
was.
and we reallocated
Yeah.
to the position, so I'm saying it works the other way around too, like if a position is needed. That wasn't there, they can use retiree money or even money from other things and reallocate it. To open up.
I'm sorry.
Okay, we're good?
Literally, we do that.
Okay. Energy performance contract, we already talked about. Facilities fund update, I don't think there's any changes there.
No.
Okay, 5 years facilities plan, and no change there. Facilities aid,
The only
The last
thing that,
bullet.
right, only thing that's changed there is I finally finished all the questions and jumping through the hoops for DASNY, who has now approved our grant application and has now submitted it to New York State to approve for funding.
that's $174,000 for the science lab, gas lines and eye wash stations.
Correct.
Yes, yeah. American Rescue Plan, no change. Business.
Well, there is a little change there,
Okay.
let me tell you.
Okay,
We have drawn down, I would say at least 90 to 95% of the money. Which
okay,
you were concerned
You
about
answered
it,
my
but
question.
I did, but you know, so yes, yeah,
okay.
which means that's what that means, the FS-25s have been filed.
Because we have until the fall.
We have till September of 2024, but I'd like to get it, well, because the
And are we
ventilation
waiting on
stuff is.
invoices still from the last?
A few, but we've been pushing for them.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So,
And I will update the spreadsheet, just give me till after.
we'll update,
I will.
okay, after budget. Okay, then the Edgemont Incorporation issue, I don't know of anything new that has happened. I kept waiting to hear something about whether the town of Greenburgh was taking any legal action yet. I don't know of anything new. Carol, do you know anything about this issue?
Yes, the town is planning to take legal action. However, they can't do anything until they have what's called standing. So they are preparing so that when they finally get the legal standing, they will be able to proceed with the appropriate lawsuit. The one other thing as far as Edgemont Incorporation is that Tom Abenanti, our former assemblyman, is running in the Democratic primary, challenging Mary Jane Shimsky for the New York Assembly seat to represent us. He has been a strong advocate for the village incorporation issue, and he has pledged to try and undo the legislation that was passed this year that screwed us so badly. So Democratic primary, for those of you who are registered as Democrats, Abenanti versus Shimsky.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments or questions on this issue? Hearing none, other concerns?
Did I zone out when we talked about RD Bailey Auditorium and roof?
Yes,
Okay. I can watch it back.
okay, it's proceeding forward.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Next meeting is.
We are adjourned at 9:03 PM. Thank you, everybody. Next meeting is.
And. Because I'm gonna say something more. Who's live, David and. David and the meeting.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, I learned your password. He has a password. David.
David, end the meeting.
David,
Steve, can you end the
please
meeting?
type in your password. David, and end the meeting.
Try to end it.
Try to get there to New York.
You can't.